We'll start with the pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, looks like we have some recognitions. Dr. Wilkins?
Yep, we'll first start off with Students of the Month for the high school. And we have Mr. Meredith here to talk about Students of the Month.
Hello, we got two of them. Junior high, she's not able to make it, but I still want to brag on her because she's probably watching it. Our first one's Brooklyn McGeorge. That's her first year at Southwestern. She's had great growth ever since building. Just her attendance, her eye learn, everything. I mean, she's a great friend to everybody, great cheerleader, and really just excelling at Southwestern. So our first one is Brooklyn McGeorge. And then from the high school, you might have seen her picture on Facebook this past week. She was in the Blue River Student Spotlight. She's in the Social and Community Service Program, really excelling there. And I think the comment I've received from the staff the most this year is just how happy she is. She lights up the room when she comes into the office. She makes everybody smile. And she's just a great person to have in her school. So our high school student of the month is Emma Bonebrake. Thank you.
Now we have our Students of the Month for the elementary. We have Mrs. Hale.
Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and start with kindergarten for the month of February. We have Amelia Mack. For first grade, we have Jude Anspaugh. For second grade, we have Gunnar Ray Dunnigan. In third grade, we have Scarlett Stevens. In fifth grade, we have Thea Fiesbeck. And in sixth grade, we have Raylan Goodrich. Our fourth grade student of the month couldn't join us this evening, Reagan Clark, so she's going to join us next month to be honored.
Who's going to do a group picture? That's you. You want to do a group picture with the boy?
Yeah.
Okay. We need all Students of the Month to come on up. Good. Thanks. We'll get
Brad, once you put the center.
I thought the last one Thanks, man. Thank you.
They still sit there. I'll let them know.
I have 739. That's your.
That's fine, that's where I have it.
I accidentally had your personal one volume, not volume filled.
That's all right, nobody saw it, right?
Probably.
You ready? All righty, we're gonna keep going. Do we have any agenda modifications?
We have one addition. Put it on your board agenda, or your board agenda, letter E. It's just receive approval of conflict of interest form for Mr. Tyndall. That's the only addition I have.
Alrighty. Do we have any public comments? Hearing none, we'll go to the consent items and claims. Approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any discussion?
I move we approve. One second.
All in favor? 7-0. Approval of accounts payable vouchers. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? 7-0. Business and financial reports. We had a financial report, cafeteria account report in our packet.
Yep, you should have that in your packet. Just if you have any questions, do you have any questions over anything that you saw in your packet? All right.
No voting on that.
Alrighty, new business. I'll let you, Dr. Wilkins, run through the acceptance and donations and
Yep,
grants.
so we have acceptance of donation and grants tonight. We have several here. I'm gonna do them all together. If you guys are fine with that, so.
Yep.
First of all, we do a donation from Mount Auburn Christian Church in the amount of $50 for the Spartan Food Pantry. We also have a donation from Shelby County Ag Promotion in the amount of $750 for the Southwestern FA. We have a donation from Jerry Petro in the amount of $650 for outdoor batting cages. We also have a donation from Kenneth and Janet Gorel in the amount of $650 for outdoor batting cages. The last one here, we have a grant that was received from the Wortman grant through the Blue River Community Foundation for Project Lead the Way, Biomed, Science Pathway, and STEM programming at Southwestern High School.
I have a comment. Shocking. I just want to say, all of these donations that we bring in, we appreciate greatly because funding for public schools is not that great right now. And so anything that we get helps to offset what we have to pay for, and it is much appreciated. So that's it. I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, you start.
No, because did you have a comment?
No.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve.
All set. There, you got it.
All those in favor?
Vote, please.
7-0.
Say, I'm in a different spot, it's not a whole rip cage, it's also, it is.
You gonna go through these? You want me to?
Yeah, okay. Next, we have the approval of the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky tomorrow. So we really ask that you approve that.
Yeah,
We have
it would
the
be.
right to go tomorrow to that, so. It's an out-of-state trip, so we need board approval.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to mess with Brad because he doesn't like.
I move we approve that trip. I'll second.
All in favor? 7-0.
Okay. Next, we have a recommendation to approve the payment to Tecton Construction Management. This is for the quality plumbing and heating in the amount of $55,859.58. It's for the GeoBond project. It's for the HVAC project that we have going on this summer. Just the start of getting some of the supplies needed for that.
Any comments or questions?
This amount does still fall within planned budget and spending schedule.
It does.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? 7-0.
Next, we have a recommendation to approve payment to Tecton in the amount of $20,607 for Southwestern Consolidated GeoBond project. Again, it's the project used for the HVAC. So this is going directly to Tecton, where the other one is for quality plumbing and heating.
Questions or comments?
I move we approve.
A second.
All those in favor? 7-0.
Okay. The next one is the one I added. Receive approval of the conflict of interest forms for Mr. Tyndall. As you know, he owns the golf simulator business in Shelbyville, and we have a fundraiser plan for our athletic department where we're using that. So we need to make sure we have a conflict of interest form completed and submitted to the DLGS. So that's what that is.
Comments or questions?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? 7-0.
Next, we have, you have an overtime report. Again, there was no overtime here. I think it was just over hours that worked, but it wasn't necessarily overtime. Yeah.
I lied, I did have a comment on that, just because I know what a conflict of interest form is,
Yeah.
but not everybody does. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's an actual conflict of interest occurring. It just means that legally you have to document if you own a business that might do business or is doing business with where you are employed if you are a government employee.
It's an act of transparency, right?
Mhm.
Being transparent that we have an employee here, but also has another business and we're working with as well, so.
I just wanted to clarify, because
Yeah,
the
no,
way that it reads
good.
is like, oh, we have
Yeah.
a conflict of
No,
interest.
that's fine.
Reports and presentations?
So the only thing I wanted to do tonight is I guess I just want an open discussion on, I heard from community on whether we use makeup days, for school closures, whether we do e-learning or, we can do e-learning with a more synchronous approach, and those kind of school days as well. And so I think it's a good time to have that discussion together as a board of, what you're looking for here. So I have some, guidelines, guardrails when we do call cancellations, when the weather is bad, like it was for, a few days here, a couple weeks ago, to know what plan of action we're gonna take. Is there a certain point on which we aren't gonna use makeup days, instead we're gonna do, a more synchronous approach or synchronous days, so, and we count those as school days, so I think it's a good time just for you to let me know how you feel, and we can just have a conversation about that, so.
So can I
I'll
start?
open it up to whoever. Yeah.
Well, so the survey that went out.
Yeah.
We, as board members, we do not see your names, we do not see any identifying information. We simply get to see the answers, compiled in a spreadsheet beautifully. And once I got to actually sit down and look at those answers, there are quite a few that essentially said, like, I don't like synchronous learning, but I also don't want my kid to go to school extra days. I don't want to add extra days to the end of the school year. And so, like, while I get it, I also, like, our job up here is to look at what is best for education as a whole. And reading things like that really, like, it hurts, because essentially the responses were, I don't feel like my kid was educated today, but I don't want to deal with extra days at the end of the school year. And so, I mean, I actually have a few of them here that I saved because I was like, man, that doesn't make sense to me. It does make sense to me, but at the same time, like, it's hard to read that we didn't like it. We didn't feel like it was effective. We didn't, on a normal basis, we wouldn't be able to do it, but we would rather miss out on education simply so that we don't add days to the end of the school year. So I just wanted to start by saying that, like, because we did a broad overview of the survey, but once I looked at those answers, that was kind of a lot to take in, honestly.
If I remember right, was the survey 70%?
I think it was 70 people.
I have the result, I have them ready in case you want to see that, so, I mean, I don't know if we want, one of the things that was gathered through this, because this is kind of the discussion we're at right now, is whether we use makeup days at the end of the year, or whether we do e-learning days. The last point on here, 84.5% of the people would rather do e-learning days with a synchronous approach than add days to the end of the school year. So that was one of the things taken away from this, as well as other things that were conveyed from the survey. So.
And this was based on 1 day of it, correct?
This was based on 2 days.
2 days.
We had done 2 days, yeah.
Okay, that's right.
We had 2 e-learning days that we used because the third e-learning day, remember, is a planned day. It's the day before spring break.
Mhm.
So we had done 2 e-learning days with this type of synchronous approach, which I think is better. I mean, if we're going to do e-learning, let's try to give some instruction to people, versus just handing out work. Let's try to get some sort of normalcy with classroom discussion and, and teacher instruction. So,
I agree with Blake on if we feel that for what's best for student outcomes is for them to be in the classroom, then I don't want to add days at the end of the year either, but like you said, we're here for what's best for the kids. And, personally, I feel for those larger families who have multiple kids, and especially those parents who are both working, and to try to make sure that all of that gets done in one day is a lot for those families.
I think the biggest thing for me, like when I think about education, what is the best thing? We know it's to be in the classroom, hands down. I agree with what you're saying, that e-learning, synchronous learning is a much better approach than e-learning.
Yeah.
My biggest fear, and what I've expressed to the several members here and even publicly, is that when we transition from a e-learning platform to a synchronous learning, when we go to synchronous, we no longer are bound to just 3 days a year. Basically going synchronous without some sort of a guardrail from this board. When we move to synchronous, it's open to as many days as we feel is good.
Yeah.
That is one thing I can't stand for, knowing that 1 in 4, possibly 1 in 5 of these kids is going to be left behind, no matter what we do. And the most optimistic look at this, 80% are going to do it. Well, in any other format, losing 1 in 5 kids is a problem, not a solution. So I think that's, to me, am I okay with synchronous learning? Sure. But we have to have some sort of a policy in place to make sure that our kids are going to school at whatever number we feel that is, whether that's 177 days, like we are right now with e-learning having 3 days, or whether it's 175, whatever. There needs to be a cap to make sure that our kids, especially that 1 in 5 that's going to get left behind, isn't 10 days or 15 days a year. That's my big.
I also wanted to address in the survey, sorry, I just was looking back at it, and I think a lot of the people that answered the questions, again, like we just did the training here to help people understand what our job is and what it's not and all of those things, but a lot of the people that answered the survey don't understand what synchronous learning has to be. And so like they answered that it's okay as long as my kid has 3 days to make it up because we can't get online during that time. That's not synchronous learning, that is e-learning.
But it's still, you can still have those guidelines and those procedural rules set in place for people who are struggling, to where they still have time and they have grace to complete work and get that in. So it's just like missing a day of school. You aren't expected to, if you're not there that day of school, that you don't have extra time to turn the work in. You still do.
But in order to be counted present, don't they have to be on camera that day?
They don't. I mean, if they're having struggles and they're struggling with the technology, we can also say you have 3 days to get the work finished. And we can take attendance based on whether they finished that work and completed the work, or whether they hand work in.
That still falls within synchronous learning rules?
I can tell you, that's what I've done in a previous district. That's what we did with synchronous learning. And it was,
I guess
that was fine.
I guess my problem hearing that is like, if the synchronous learning is so much better and has so much more meat, how is it able to just be substituted in? If we're talking about, that's just from an outside perspective, I'm not an educator, so I don't know. But like for me, if it is such an improved version, and we're using this synchronous learning to count as attendance, how are we able then, with 1 in 4, 1 in 5 kids that aren't able to do it, how are we just able to, it's okay, we'll just squeeze it in over the next few days?
I think it was thought when the state of Indiana agreed to this, it was thought as it was a reasonable alternative versus just making days up at the end of the year, especially when you had, schools that missed 2-3 weeks of school and then they had to make those days up at the end of the year. Thinking of parents and families who have vacations planned and things like that.
Right.
That it it was an alternative to that. So I don't know that anyone thinks it's necessarily better,
Right.
or maybe not even as good, but it is an alternative to adding up a bunch of days at the end of the school year. And I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just saying that I think that was the reasoning behind it.
Right.
So,
Well, and I'm,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not an educator, but you add those days at the end of the year, like right now, we have one, right, coming back.
we'll have one, because
Okay.
we had the 2 days that were waived.
That's one day. You, like, as an educator, there's lessons planned, they got fined. Are they really gonna get much done that day?
That was my same opinion.
I mean,
Right. But
let's
I
be
think-
honest.
I agree, but I think I agree with one extra day, but my thing is, if we're talking about, if we had a catastrophic snow event and we have to add 4 days at the end of the year. 4 days, I think if you added 4 days, I think that becomes then just an extension of school. It's not like those 4 days are going to be worthless as far as education. And that also comes down to the leadership situation as well. I feel very confident that Dr. Wilkins will make sure that if we had to add 4 days to the end of the school year, which I hope we don't, I feel confident that we would make sure our teachers and everybody got something out of it.
Having lived that before, I will tell you, they are less productive.
Yeah.
Then if you add, the more days you add at the end of the school year, they become less productive. It's just, it's human nature.
We're not
It's just gonna become
educators.
less.
We're not
productive.
educators, but we've all been in that seat before too.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Mhm.
And
So,
did we take away snow days last year
It'd be,
from the calendar? What?
like last year, we had two makeup days. Are you talking about
I was
makeup
gonna say,
days?
well,
Snow days, yeah, whichever.
There were two makeup days built into the calendar last year. So what we did, I think our process last year is we used our we used our 2 e-learning days because the third was used before spring break. So we used those 2 e-learning days, and then we used our makeup days. And we didn't need to add any days to the end of the school. It actually worked out really well, that we were fine. This year's obviously was different because we had some cancellations before, and first semester, and then we had 3 second semester, which ended up putting us over that edge too. I mean, let me just suggest this, and I've seen it work too, is that we have, we've already set the calendar for next school year. And I would worry that if we're adding makeup days in the middle of the year next year, that might, I'm worried it may impede people, the vacations they have, and things like that they have planned. What we could do is we could designate days at the end of the school year that we are going to use these as makeup days. Just so everyone knows that these are possible makeup days. If we have to use them, we're going to use them. Then we could do a process where we use our e-learning days that we have. And then we say, we're going to use our e-learning days. And after those, we're going to use our makeup days. And once we get through the makeup days, at that point, we're going to just do the e-learning or synchronous learning for the rest of the days too. And I think it would help with some of that where we're limiting the number. And it would also help in those catastrophic events where we have a large number of days to add into the school year. It may help with some of that too. So that's an option. I'm not saying that's something we have to do, but it's a point of discussion.
I don't think that, and truthfully, like, it's not our, just speaking from the board rules and the training. So like, it's not really our job to say, hey, you need to do this day, that day, this day.
Right.
I think for me as a board, I think the safe thing, kind of what I'm hearing from at least a few of the members, is that like, what we need to do is just have a guardrail saying we want to see our kids in school in person 175 days a year, unless of a catastrophic thing where you then can come back to us and we change it. So I understand with synchronous learning that gives us some flexibility, but my fear is that flexibility will turn to overuse of it in time. And when we have families that count on their kids going to school for their jobs, you know, how many sick days is a parent able to take when we have extra days?
But the thing with
So-
that I will say, if we close school and we don't, parents don't have to worry about what they're gonna do
Yeah.
with their kids, even though they're home.
But like many situations, it's one thing when it's a day of either no school or just the e-learning that gets distributed. When you have to go synchronous and have technology, when you're talking about, oh, I'm sending them to grandma's house,
Mhm.
that's a whole different dynamic. It's a much more high intensity, or you have parents that are working from home,
Mhm.
trying to do what they're doing, in addition to then trying to deal with
Yeah.
in school. Plus, throughout all of that, we all know that is not as ideal for education as being in person. So I think for me, that is the guardrail I would like to see us put in place, is that we have whatever that number is. That's the number of days we want to see our kids in school in person. And then past that, you as the superintendent deal with that, how you see fit.
So, right now there's 4 days, right, between,
There's actually, you're talking about the number of days between the last day of school and graduation, because that's something obvious, that's where I'm getting at, is I don't want to get in the habit of we're trying to move graduation
Yeah.
around. That would be ugly, we don't want to put people through that. There's actually 5 days,
okay.
because this next year, I believe Memorial Day falls on the 31st. Let me pull up the calendar here real quick.
I just don't, I mean, personally, yeah, you want kids in the classroom, but you could get in a situation where you're pushing them 3 weeks past into school.
But if that's the situation, there's be the exemptions that the state can give us.
Right.
Which what they're not. And also in that situation, the superintendent could come to us and say, hey, I need to make an exemption to this year because of X, Y, and Z thing. What I fear is by just turning synchronous learning loose and allowing a potentially unlimited amount of days, that it would then become very quickly abused. Every school system that I've heard of that has moved to this, you're talking about 8, 9, 10, 14 days of that during the school year. And during every one of those days, you have that number of kids getting left behind. To me, that I'm looking at it, I can't justifiably say that I'm making a good decision for education for these kids in that regard.
Right.
If we limit it and we say, hey, we want to make sure our kids are in school at least 175 days a year in person, which is more flexible than what it is currently. That's giving some additional flexibility, but also ensuring that our kids are sitting in front of our teachers getting a quality education. I think to me, that's a middle of the road option.
At one point in time, there was no limit on e-learning days.
Right, which is why this legislature came and said, you can only do 3 learning days.
And I assume it was because e-learning was abused.
Right.
So it's reasonable to think that synchronousness would go.
And just so you know, legislation doesn't say e-learning, it says asynchronous and synchronous.
Right.
So an asynchronous day is a day that the teachers do not need to provide, do not need to be available for instruction for at least half the school day. Those would be asynchronous days. So that was what our e-learning was before the school year.
Right.
So we have our synchronous days, which means you're saying that instructor's going to be available for instruction for at least half the school day.
Okay.
So that's kind of the difference between the two. They label it asynchronous and synchronous. So you can do 3 asynchronous days and then an unlimited number of synchronous days right now. And part of that is the reason is because people were doing e-learning or what's now asynchronous. They were doing an unlimited number of those and the kids weren't receiving instruction. So the states decided, well, you can do 3 of those days and we can do more synchronous days where the kids are receiving some instruction and there is some instruction that's going on. So that's kind of why that change was made.
I mean, like Derek, I would
Yeah.
definitely like to see some kind of guardrail in place.
So I'm gonna throw out there.
So
Oh,
can I answer your question first?
Yeah.
There are 5 days
Thank you.
because we have next year, the 21st is our last day of school and graduation's on 28. So we could essentially do 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, and if we could even do the day of as a makeup day and then do graduation that evening. So next year we would have We have variety days at the end, from the last day of school to graduation, there's 5 days that we have.
Okay, so.
Yep.
My concern is not necessarily that it's gonna go unchecked, right? Like, we're still here every month. My concern is more just exactly what I said. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the difference. A lot of people, the results were essentially like, it wasn't great. My own experience was not great. And so I didn't feel like there was education happening in my house. I will say that. There may have been some, but it was not great. And so I worry that, you know, we put together a whole strategic plan. We wanted to focus this board on education, and putting policies in place that push forward the idea that, you know, accountability. And like they've said, I mean, honestly, like I feel like if we do have to do 5 makeup days, and the week that was originally going to be the last week of school is just screw around days, and then the week that we replace with it is also screw around days, somebody's not being held accountable. And so my personal thoughts here, just looking at what you've provided, looking at the survey, looking at, you know, the text messages I receive, if we have an e-learning day, if we have synchronized learning, and if we have snow days, and no matter which direction you go, somebody wants it different.
Right.
And so my thoughts here on paper are 3 learning days, 5 snow makeup days. That's 8 built-in days. I know nobody wants to look at those 5 days, but we could just change the calendar and put those 5 days on there and just have extra school days. So we're not doing that. And then at that point, we would have 8 built-in days to use, which is not typically what we need in Indiana. Past that, at that point, if synchronous learning is needed, then that's where I'm good with. If we use all 8 of those built-in days, at that point, like, I'm okay with going.
Right? Yeah, we aren't even there this year, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the goal would just be not to let it get past graduation.
Right. And I think what you're saying, and what me and Daryl are discussing, all can go together. I think that having that cap saying I would be fine with 175 days in person. I think that is well within the bounds of what we're talking about with makeup days, built-in days. I think that's totally acceptable, but that gives some assurance to a doubter like myself that makes sure that we are staying in person for those days, because I do truly feel like what Daryl said, it would become more than 5 days, more than 6 days, more than 7 days. And then once you have a year where you have 5 or 6 days, it's pretty easy to have the next year be 7 or 8. It's just, and I'm not saying you would do that, but I absolutely feel like it can snowball pretty quickly. No pun intended. But
I'm also somebody that is team err on the side of caution. So when we have a day where we have ice on those roads, I don't want to send my kid driving on those roads. And that's just, I don't want to send anybody's kid driving on those roads. And so I would like to make sure that we still have plenty of options so that we're not trying to make decisions based around what we're talking about tonight, that to try to keep everybody happy.
Right.
I don't,
Can't do that.
to be totally blunt, I care less about your happiness than I do the safety of these kids. So it is what it is.
And I agree. Like we have to have, the priority is safety for sure. The second priority is education, and those kind of go hand in hand. But I would surely hope that nobody would be thinking we're going to send these kids to school on roads that we feel are unsafe. I don't think anybody's promoting that idea either. So. Anybody?
I'd like to share.
I'm afraid to bring up another angle to this, so.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
Do it.
This is the time to do it.
this is the time.
Really, this is the time to do it.
Can you flip back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
I don't have arguments against what's being said, but an area of this that I would like to understand if it could be considered is, in improving the quality of the synchronous learning. Can we make it effective? Millions of people in this world function remotely.
Right.
can we make this effective for this time period? I don't know what that means. As all of us have said, I'm not an educator. So I don't quite know what that means, but there's ways to be effective online. What are they?
Right. We've done it twice.
And I will say,
And we've only done it twice, so there's probably a learning curve to this.
there is.
Yeah, that's
Where I was going.
For sure.
And I think we've learned some things in the process, and we're gonna continue learning them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I would appreciate to hear that there's a conscious effort to find those improvements
Yeah.
and to find those enhanced means and methods of making this more effective.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be perfect? Is it the same as sitting in the class? No, it's not. It's not ever going to be. But maybe we can get close.
But I like the guardrails idea too. You don't wanna get into.
I think ultimately we can continue that discussion about how we can improve it and make it good, because I agree. I do think that going to something that is more one-on-one, providing good education,
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think but without having a guardrail in place, I just don't see a way for me to feel good about seeing a movement.
I also have to throw out there that the lack of reliable internet service in our community is a problem. But
When is that fiber being turned on?
And it's to speak
when
to
are they
that,
putting it in?
that's one of the reasons why we have to extend grace to people to make sure that they have the ability to get their work in and finish work and get the help they need, because they may not have that access. So that's why we say, if it's a synchronous day and things are due, you have 3 days to get that done, especially if you weren't there. But that's like, you're gonna need that. So, yeah. But, and to speak to what you said, Brett, I totally endorse that. We've done 2 days, and by no means have we perfected synchronous learning in 2 days. I think I'm under the belief that what we did last time, what we've done this year, was an improvement over what we were doing before.
I agree to that.
And that students were able to receive some sort of instruction on those days and have an interaction with their teachers on those days. And I think that's positive.
Yeah, I agree. It moved in a positive direction, but I think it's still just getting started.
Totally, yeah.
So, a structured effort to continuously improving that, I think is warranted.
And I think no one thinks that effort, we're not going to put in synchronous days just to get better at synchronous learning either. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's only gonna be used for actual days where we can't be on the roads, not for any other reason. Ms. Barlow, can I ask her opinion as an educator?
You might want to ask her if you can ask her.
Would you mind sharing? As we've all said, we're not educators up here. We've got a legit educator here.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing your take on it with us?
Well, I mean, during COVID, which is when all of this came about, I was teaching in Indianapolis and had to do entirely synchronous teaching all day. I tested standardized testing in small groups all day. So I've done it quite a bit. I was much more comfortable when we had to go to synchronous at Southwestern than I think a lot of my colleagues were. I was a little rusty. It took a minute, to get my bearings. But is it ideal? No. Is it going to be the exact same? No. Is it better than sending work packets or posting things to do online? Yes. What else do you want to know? I can go on. So synchronous, it takes a while to feel comfortable with it. I also worry that if we do not have any sort of synchronous learning for our students, many other students do have this available. And so when they do choose to an online college or go into a workforce position where remote interaction is involved, our kids may be on a delay if they haven't had that interaction as much. So I think that we need to embrace it for what it's worth, if that makes sense. I don't know. Do you want more?
No, I think that's a great opinion. I think the idea of it turning into something that it's not, I mean, we're only using it for snow days. Obviously the people of the community are for it with, 84.5, that's pretty overwhelming, for it. I think we can agree this year that we've had some rough weather. This isn't typical amount of days off in a year. 91.6% were either satisfied or neutral. So that's an overwhelming majority. So, and with the built-in days at the end of the year, I don't think there's any way we're going to burn up 8 days and then have more than a couple days of synchronous learning.
So you would be on team with using those days as built-in snow days?
I would like to see a cap on synchronous learning days, maybe, 5, I think would be a good number. And then, 5 synchronous learning days, and then the 8 built-in days. That's a lot of.
That's 5.
Sorry, 5. That's a lot of days. I don't see us.
Yeah.
And then, there's gonna be a lot of districts in the same boat if that does happen. And then there's also the waiver tied into that as well.
So can I ask for clarification? When you say 5 synchronous days, you're saying?
Online learning period.
Okay, just any, okay.
Any,
I don't know if, okay.
asynchronous or synchronous.
Yeah, any sort of online platform.
And then, dear God, if we get past 10 days out of school, we probably like we're in
Extraordinary
emergency.
circumstances, yeah.
Right, that's a whole different thing. That's the most snow we've had in like 10 years. Like you said, that's the.
But in
If
that
we get past
situation
that.
right now, you only gave us 2 days of, if it uses that scenario in this year, you only access 2 days, correct?
Right.
So,
But but you're talking about adding those days to the end of it for makeup days, plus having 5. So we already have 3 that we built in. Now, taking it to 5 adds 2 more. So you're talking about, like you said, 8 days. I think that covers 99% of the years that we're gonna have. And we meet every month. If there's something that comes up, we can.
I understand. I guess my complaint is, we add days at the end, but I don't feel like those days are learning. It's still part of summer at that point.
I think that's accountability problem, but
So,
after working.
I think it's a human nature problem.
yeah,
Agreed.
so,
Well, I just think that it takes,
It's the end of the year, everybody's excited.
they already have a
it
short
would
summer
take the
break.
5 days, but they weren't learning at the end of the school year anyway.
It's like the Friday before
Right.
3-day weekend at work.
It's,
Say that again, I'm sorry.
well, so like, the last week of school is always wild, right?
We have a comment.
Are you interrupting me while I'm talking?
No.
Did you have Brad interrupt me while I'm talking?
No, it seems like the end of the school year day seems to be a sticking point, right? Where people don't want to do that. That's frustrating. It's hard on the kids because they're pumped. They're playing Little League baseball. They're ready to catch fireflies and run in the dirt. All the things. We have the day before spring break. We have the day before fall break. We have 3 days over Thanksgiving break, which I know people would hate that, but that Wednesday is not a holiday. So I feel like we need to evaluate that calendar a little bit closer and see if there's days that we could say, hey, you might not get the Friday off before spring break. Because I don't think that it's as a built-in e-learning day as of next year, correct?
It is not, it's just a day off next year. The issue that we run into with that, if we're talking about fall break and Thanksgiving, most of the times we haven't had any cancellations before those days even come up.
That's
So those
true.
wouldn't be, really, you really can't, you can't have makeup days in your calendar until that second semester, because that's when you're experiencing
That's true.
But you would get 4
Cancellation.
days, you would get 4 days of in-person learning, canceling the ones in fall to set you up for success later on in the year.
Are your semesters separated by law, or like if you had that extra day, if you added an extra day, like say we did this camp where we said, hey, we want to make sure our kids are 175 days in the classroom. If we make that as a cap, if that day that she's referencing, would that be able to be one of those days to help offset that?
I know, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question, I'm sorry.
Like the day before fall break and the day before, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, if those weren't days off, those days were.
Those would count as normal school days.
Right. So we wouldn't need as many on the back end if we've accomplished more.
They're saying pull up the year.
Of learning.
Basically extending, if your first semester was 2 more days,
Yeah.
that would allow you to have that wiggle room.
You would essentially take 2 days off the end of the school year, correct?
Yep.
And then just
Or you
add
could add 2
makeup days at the
in
end of the
middle.
school year, which is what we're already talking about.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Ultimately, as long as our kids are in school 175 days a year, I don't think that.
So I totally forget what I was saying before Brad rudely interrupted for Rachel Harlow. Putting that all on the record right now.
Thanks, Rick.
Blake's never done that.
But
Come back, don't worry.
one of the things I was going to point out. So how many students do we have in our school corporation?
Well, that's an ADM discussion we'll have in just a little bit. Pre-K through 12, we're at right around 640 kids. Now, the kids that will be doing synchronous learning will be doing that 1st grade through 12th grade. So you take off, 60 more kids.
Actually, I guess I'm trying to figure out how many people actually responded to our survey.
It's hard to tell because
71 responded, but as far as,
yeah.
the number of kids we have in the school district versus the number of people that actually filled out the survey, and then when you drop that,
100%.
then it was 59 people that said it was, it was, they would rather do that than days at the end of the school year. So when you actually do the math of that, it's not even a majority of people in the school district, it's just the majority of people that took the time to respond to a survey. Which I've heard in the last week, like, apparently we're still, even though we communicate really hard, people aren't hearing stuff. People don't see stuff. And so,
the side of that you have to remember is that those are respondents to the survey. Now, some of those people have multiple children, so it's not going to be like you have 650 kids, so you expect 650 responses.
Yeah. I just wanted that on the record as well, because when we're talking about 84%, we're talking about 84% of 71,
Well, then you
not
ask for the
84%.
survey 3rd through kindergarten, not even 2nd through preschool to respond to it too, because it didn't involve them.
You're right. We just
So
asked
you're
3rd
talking
grade,
3rd grade through
3rd
12th grade.
is what we asked. Yep.
I feel like it's a big number to completely ignore it. But.
Well,
Only,
we all know
on the flip side of
historically-
that, only 12 people weren't satisfied.
And historically speaking, surveys are always difficult to get, and it's not anybody's fault. I mean, we try to communicate it. It's just hard to get people to respond to surveys. So, I mean, at some point, you gotta lean on your judgment about what you, like, I mean, most of us live in this community our whole life. What would they wanna do? I feel pretty confident to say that the overwhelming majority of the people want to see their kids in school and know that that's better than anything in front of a computer screen. Every parent I know just actively tries to eliminate and limit the amount of times their kids are in front of a screen, so.
Data we have doesn't show that though.
I just think what Ryan's saying, we sent out the survey,
Pretty clear.
and we're just saying, we're not taking 71 people in account. That's what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying, like, I think that it's a verbiage thing a lot of times. I think if you said, hey, do you want to see your kids sit in front of a computer and learn from it 10 days a year?
Nobody
They're gonna
wants
say no.
it. It's just an option
Right. It's
to
just,
eliminate days at the end. It's
I
an
just wanted
option.
factual
Nobody wants
numbers on the record. That's all I wanted. So we've had an idea thrown out right here for next school year. Five online learning days, 5 built-in makeup days. Are you still comfortable with that idea?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I don't see it going past.
We're not
us, so
voting.
pretty-
Yeah, we're not
No,
voting.
we're just having a discussion, but
Tonight.
we're not getting to
Right.
any resolution here, so
Right.
I'm just trying to say,
Yeah.
you were good with that, I'm totally good with that. Like, is that something that everyone feels like if it came to a vote, you could
Is this?
be okay with, a limit, but not?
Yes, I'm 100% on board for.
I guess my question would be, what is the next step? Is this something we vote on? How does this
I don't know
even
if
come
something
into
we need
step? I mean, is this?
Is it just something we can give recommendation on?
You can give recommendations on.
Yes,
and then
that's
we
what I
make
was thinking. It's just a
decisions.
recommendation to
And
you
then
of how you handle it.
Unless you set a policy where you're gonna follow this. Now, I will say, if you set a policy that this is what we're gonna do, you can't deviate from that policy. Once it's set, we can't say, well, this was a really tough year, we've missed more days, so we now have to follow policy now. If we set a policy, we have to follow that policy.
Agreed.
So if that's the route we'd like to go down by setting said policy, we need to make sure that it's something we're following. Because we don't want to get a situation where we create policies we just don't follow.
I think if we're all in here having a conversation about essentially 5 online learning days, 5 built-in makeup days at the end, and next year you're like, guess what, 17 e-learning days, they're gonna come back in here and say, hey, we gotta talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I say they,
I
because
think-
I won't be
I mean,
here.
from what I'm hearing, having the five e-learning days, synchronous days, and having the 5 makeup days,
You would think that would be plenty.
that solves, in my mind, that solves the issue.
Mhm.
Unless we have like a too much snow, like I mean.
And then
We have the
we're getting-
175 days that you've asked for.
Shelby County is
Agreed.
really good
Agreed.
at clearing
And
that.
then
Hey,
we've
they got
had,
better.
and then
Shut
we've
up.
had added the days at the end that we have
Doing
as
better.
well. I'm gonna ask one more question, and I'm not trying to be difficult, I promise. Is the direction from the board that we would use the synchronous days first before going into makeup days?
Yeah, I would say,
Yes.
that'd be me.
That'd be a yes for me.
So we would use our 5 synchronous days that we've agreed on here, and then after that, we're tracking makeup days at the end of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
We were already gonna have 3 anyway, what's 2 more?
If we,
And this is for next school year.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't now, we're talking about next year.
which that.
So I can communicate that to everyone, that if we have closures, if we have any closures due to weather or anything, we're doing synchronous days, we're gonna do it 5 times. And then after that, we're gonna use 5 makeup days, and then after that, we're gonna go to more synchronous days.
Mhm.
That's 10 days. I don't think we're gonna run into a situation where we're gonna miss 10 days of school.
I know, I'm fine with it. I would like to see the policies limiting the synchronous days to 5, personally. Or either limiting it to 5, or saying we want to see our kids in school 175 days a year in person. That
There's
is
gonna
my,
be a time that you can't do that though.
I'm just saying my opinion, that's just my opinion. Because I just see, I love that we're adding days, I think we're in a pretty good middle of the road
And
here.
then where does where the state gives them back to us, like where would that fall in there?
That's,
State of emergency.
it's like what
I
happened
know, but
this year.
like, does that just mean instead of 175, they gave us 2 days back, so now it's 173?
Yep.
Or is that how we would do it?
Now, I will tell you, like this year, because this year in this scenario, I wouldn't have requested a waiver for those days because we weren't tacking any days to the end of the school year at that point. We would have been using our 5 synchronous days, and we wouldn't have been adding any days to the end of the year. We've been closed 5 days this year. Right? We did 2 e-learning days, and then we have 3 makeup days.
Mhm.
So in this scenario this year, I wouldn't have requested a waiver from the state because frankly, we wouldn't have needed one because we've done our synchronous days. I wouldn't have requested those days off, those days. The reason why I requested it this year is because we had cancellation days where we were making up at the end of the school year, and that was an option that I could request a waiver for those days. I requested it for all 3 and I got a waiver for 2, which was consistent with every other school in the state, every school that I know of in the state that was in the same boat or similar boat. So. Does that answer?
Yep.
Your question? Yeah.
I got one more question. What's the plan for this year?
My plan for this year is what I sent out.
Yeah.
Since
we don't have any days added on, yeah.
Add it on at the end? No
No.
secrets this year?
No.
We can't because it's not part of we can't this year because we didn't add any days to the end of the year, it's no makeup days, so we can't tap them on.
If we have any more
You
cancellations this year, it'll be
can't do
synchronous.
that. What I've sent out though is from here on out, if we have a closing, we're gonna do synchronous learning days.
That's right.
Or we're doing e-learning days, because that's the message I had sent out to people.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's right to go
I
back
forgot about
against
that,
that
I
now.
apologize.
I would agree.
That's the message that was sent. But going forward, we can do the first 5 closures are synchronous learning days. The next 5 closures are makeup days at the end of the school year, and then after that, God forbid, we're out 11 days due to severe weather, we're going back to synchronous days. If that's the direction you'd like to see us go down, if we can do that.
Definitely a lot better than what it was, but I mean, that's just, you've all heard my opinion, I'm not gonna keep ramming it home, so.
So I do have a couple of things. I mean, again, number one, I get the idea of wanting a policy, but at the same time, you're here every month. So if he starts using a ridiculous amount of synchronous learning days, you're going to hold him to the fire. Like, it's not going to work. The other thing is, do we need to bring the calendar back at the next meeting to vote to change it so that those 5 days after our snow makeup days marked on the calendar so that.
We could do that. I frankly, I will tell you, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Because any closures that we have, they either have to be synchronous days or we have to add days to the end of the school year. So either way, but what we can do is we can fix our calendar and just make sure that everyone knows and we can mark on those. These will be makeup days.
Yes.
Weather permit, if needed, we will need those. That's essentially what we're doing now anyways, right? It's the same exact thing, it's just, you're just spelling it out to everyone that these are going to be makeup days.
I think it's necessary.
You're gonna know where you're at by the end of March.
And it doesn't require a calendar change, it doesn't require another.
You can mark it without us voting on that.
Yeah, I can
Perfect.
just mark it.
I just think that if we don't, people are much more likely to schedule a vacation that week and then say,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Good, but they're gonna know 2 months before that if we're gonna have school then.
I'm gonna throw out there, I think it's good that we go ahead and vote on it, that way it's publicly done and everybody sees the change. I know it's just a formality and it's not a big deal, you can add it either way.
There's nothing.
But we need to at least publicize it that we've made a change, and we're saying that. It's not a change to the schedule, but it is vocalizing and showing people, hey, if you try to schedule a vacation those days, those are now snow makeup days.
Again, just the more clarity we have is better.
I could send out clarification to people.
Right, yeah,
I just think that-
There's nothing to vote on.
No,
Yeah.
I just think that, if people, I mean, we don't get a crowd here and unfortunately people aren't watching. And honestly, I mean, I just realized, out of all of the people that got online and said it was awful that we had snow days, we have 0 public comment today. So there's also that. So
I do appreciate the attendance.
yes.
Yeah.
So many people. Woo. But I just think
Do you want
if
us
you
to make public comment now? Or we really
Whatever.
need a bathroom break?
So anyway, I think that marking the days is probably just to be very clear that if that comes down to it,
We'll do that.
just so that people know. Thank you.
Any other discussions?
I think we've exceeded our YouTube quota. I agree, probably need to.
All good here? All right, we'll move on. Anything personnel?
Personnel, nothing tonight for personnel.
Superintendent
No,
comments?
superintendent comments, I just wanted to real quick, I'm sorry. I want to give an ADM update. Today is when we sent in the certification for ADM. For some reason it's making me sign in here again.
I don't believe you, but okay.
So just our spring 2026 ADM update. It's the same thing we've done before. You guys have seen before.
It's not fair.
Oh, I'm
Let's
sorry.
start with
It's just that telephone person.
Right.
Oh,
What's it doing? Sure.
Yeah.
It's not.
IT guy.
There we go. Sorry.
God, just had to get close to it.
Just our ADM update, where we stand. So we're gonna talk about our district ADM and then our junior, senior high and elementary ADM, but just the number of students in grades kindergarten, grades kindergarten through 12 that are in our district. So if we see right now, the ADM that we submitted today was 580 students. It was down 19 students that we had in the fall. So we had 599 in the fall, and we're down to 580 right now. There are multiple reasons for that. One of the things that we're looking into and we'll continue to look into is offering some sort of online platform to try to maintain some of our kiddos here in the district. But this, you can just see the trend from 2021 till now. So we're obviously higher than we were in 21 and 22, but we have dipped here a little bit. So last year we lost 29 students. This year we lost 19. So that's district data. Elementary ADM, we went down 10 students. So we had 360 students in October. We have 350 students in our elementary building. So that's a decline of 10. Again, preschool numbers are not included in here. It's just kindergarten through 6 for elementary. Our preschool data, preschool numbers though, we maintained. We had 60 in the fall. We have 60 here in the spring as well. So those numbers did not change. Junior, senior high, we decreased by 9 students. So we went from 239 to 230. So again, a decrease of 9 students. And you can kind of see how the different grade levels lined up and where we lost students, and what grade levels we lost students.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have my glasses. Can you tell me what grade levels we lost?
Yeah, so 7th grade we maintained, 8th grade we went down 1, 9th grade we went down 1, 10th grade we went down 2, 11th grade we went down 3, and then 12th grade we went down 2. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is the majority of this attributed to online? Is that what you're?
I mean, I think some of it is. I don't know that all of it is. It's not all of it.
Yeah.
Some of it are situations beyond our control, where we may lose a student because of a situation not involving the school district at all. Something that maybe happened in the home and the child no longer going to school here. And I can tell you we had a relatively large number of those, of the kids, especially in the elementary, were in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that's it. That's all I have for ADM. So, give me questions about that.
Quick question now.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question.
Sorry to take so long, folks, but I do think it was a worthwhile discussion to have on
Yep.
makeup days and learning days, and I think it's good to have that discussion out here where everyone can hear what we're saying and the types of things that are being said. So, yep. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Board member comments. Yeah. And
Congrats to our students of the month.
Hi, I'm Blake. Thank you to everybody that came tonight. If you missed it, it's recorded that we had our board training, and it's really good to watch that to understand what the board's role is and what it's not. Also, plugging Friday, All Colors of Cancer Night. There will be a silent auction that benefits the Shelby County Cancer Association. All of our winter sports teams created their own baskets, so they did it. It's the kids' event. So I would love it if everyone would turn out and make that a huge profit for the Cancer Association of Shelby County. They help cancer patients in our own community. And so, boys, JV starts at 6, varsity to follow versus Morristown. It'll be a good night. Pizza fix, food truck will be outside. Thanks for coming.
I have some comments. Back to personnel. I got 2 sons at the high school, my chemistry class. Following some incident a couple weeks ago, their teacher is on leave of absence. I don't have any details about it. But I'm in favor of hastening the timetable for her return as a possibility. Again, I really don't have manufacturer much knowledge about the incident. As an alternative, right now they're starting Edmentum online coursework. We have a family member who's an educator, experienced with Edmentum. She feels very negatively about the Edmentum coursework, especially for our higher level science class. Me and my wife have science and technical degrees. Going back to our high school experience, chemistry was a very important class for us. Some things Edmentum might not provide. It won't provide authentic lab experience, practice with measurement and significance of error, guidance for stoichiometry, and developing depth of thought process needed to balance chemical equations. No hands-on experimentation, guided teaching, logical reasoning for students. And it's just, I think, an important aspect to have someone physically there teaching them for higher level science. Again, my sons had a very beneficial time with their teacher. And I don't know if there's anything to be done about it, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Thanks for coming.
On the coattails of Mr. O'Brien as well, I would also like to express concern with the teacher that he's talking about. Is no longer teaching chemistry. Our son is in that course and taking that class and doesn't feel like he's getting the proper engagement that he needs to move forward. From what I've been told, that she's engaging with the students. The students react to her very well, and we'd like to express our support for her.
Thanks for your comment.
Yeah, you got any comments?
Do you have any board comments?
Yes, sorry, I'm not able to give a response to those comments, but do appreciate, and we can talk further as needed. All in all, appreciate the audience being here, and this was a long session, so appreciate you sticking it out.
Thank you all for coming.
Yep. No comment from me, and meeting's adjourned.
I would like to add that we legally cannot discuss personnel issues. And so I understand, but I want to cover that we cannot.